Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 55 of the Lorethrough, and here we find ourselves at the Caelem Ruins, just a little ways into Caelid. And last time, because I am so darn forgetful due to giant monster attacks, I did not read the pyromancy incantation that we found. So let's do that now. Superior incantation of the fire monks. So interesting that they have a little bit of a lingering influence here. Creates a spiraling stream of fire that burns the area before the caster. Charging enhances potency and reach. Fire beguiles those who gaze into it, and also the guardians of the flame are also its worshippers. So it seems interesting that this was found in a golden beetle next to the cart where we found the greatsword last time. Because I don't believe we see much of a fire monk influence in Caelid. There is a sub-instance of them later, or a derivative of them, but it seems interesting that it would be along the way there, unless, of course, the beetle is collecting knowledge, and the beetle collected that piece of knowledge from the cart already. So it's kind of a funny thought, the idea that the beetle had collected that incantation from the cart, because of course it's not going to be able to lift the greatsword. So it took the piece of paper instead. It wanted a lighter load. So looking throughout this ruin, we can see the horrible rotting pockmarks in the brickwork. And we see more of the rotting corpses, but now they're on fire. And moving about. Moving flaming corpses. So it's interesting that we see a bunch of flames here, but it doesn't look like the flames are embers, so to speak, glowing within the brickwork, like we have noticed in the wall on the way into Caelid, as well as the smoldering church. So it looks like the fire is here incidentally, and that it's not, like, reinforced with fire to stave off the rot. But we still have huge moldering piles of bodies. Well, burning piles of bodies now. And there we see one of those tanks. Oh, shucks. I just checked my inventory for the crit talisman, and it's like, we're not going to get the crit talisman for so many episodes. That is way later in the game. But I still looked for it because I've been doing PvP. And sure enough, when we get close enough to these corpses, they explode. And there's others down there exploding. Kind of spooky. It caused the tank thing to turn around. I'm trying to get behind the tank thing, but these bodies aren't letting it happen. And it's kind of interesting how they do a lot of damage themselves in their explosion, but their explosion does like 70 damage to their cohorts. And would they please stop? Come on, explode already. There we go. They make a horrible noise when they do that. This is the long way of doing this, I feel. I guess they don't want you getting behind the tank too easily. But the fact that you can trick them into exploding anyways is kind of funny to me. And here we find a body with a melty mushroom. Melted mushroom, I should say. And we can almost dispatch the tank. Or the fire engine, whatever you want to refer to it as. And it drops fire blossoms. Have I looked at fire blossoms before? Yes, we've seen it before. A half-ashen and smoldering flower that blooms on the mountaintops of the giants. Material used for crafting items. Fertilized by the sparks from the forge at the peak where burns the flame of ruin. So that is a little tidbit of lore and description from a place that's much farther in the game from now. But we hear about the flame of ruin. No, 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 don't pay any attention to me. No, 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 no. Oh, no. Oh, dear, I probably should have just... Oh, that's funny. Alright. Alright, we're going to head down here and do the dungeon. And we have two pumpkin heads. One with a spear and a flail, but he mounts the spear and then moves on. Oh, he threw it at me, or threw something at me. Oh. But our damage is pretty good now. it does next to nothing. Ooh. Oh, getting caught between the two of them. That's a bad place to be. I got the spell off, but left me open. And me getting greedy for damage also left me open. And good old long carrion piercer to finish the day. The spear he staked in the ground is still here. And it has collision. That's kind of a neat touch. Alright, so they dropped... Oh, no, they don't drop it. They're guarding it. Okay, I see. I anticipated the item early. And that's on me. The Visage Shield. And it's a shield that looks like the tanks outside. Let's take a look. A tricksome bronze shield depicting the face of a fire giant. So probably why that when we defeated one of the tanks, we got those flowers that were burning, and they are from the mountaintops of the giant. So there's a connection, a theme here, right? Several tongues leap from its open mouth. The dreadful visage and burning flames are designed to remind one of the horror of facing a fire giant. In other words, this shield has an instructional function. And it takes a good deal of strength to wield, 44, but if we two-hand it, we can get it done. And if you look at it, it's got this handle, it's got a little valve there, a few pipes, and it looks like the grill of like a stove or an engine, right? And so this must be a miniature version of the tanks. And if we use its weapon art, or its Ash of War, we get a flamethrower. Kind of neat. I really like this concept. The idea of being heavily armored in the front and having a flamethrower. Is it that useful in PvP? No. Is it okay in PvE? Situational. There's probably other means of dealing fire damage very well. Oh, shucks. Look at all these bodies. But the Gavel of Haima makes short work of them. Oh, I love the Gavel of Haima and the Cannon of Haima. I really do. If I had more spell slots, I would have them on in addition to my other spells. That's my problem, is that in previous Souls games, it's only been a handful of spells I've really, really liked. But in this game, I like most of the spells. I like a lot of the spells, and so I have a hard time choosing, right? Even just looking at her status, like, I love the Glintstone, Swift Glintstone Shard. I love the Star Bursts. I love all the sword sorceries and the sword buff and the Cannon of Haima and the Gavel of Haima. I love them all. They're great. So, coming down the road a little bit, we see another one of these moldering mounds. It looks like there's an item up there. We will be back for that. That is along our trek back to the ruins over here where we saw those crows. So, and then we'll be heading to the Gale Tunnel after that. So we have a little bit of a path ahead of us. But there's stuff to look at over here. So we'll take a look at this telescope first. And sure enough, so we see lots of rotten places. We came from over there. And there's even a little bit of the town, simplified for viewing from a distance. But there we can see the Divine Tower of Storm Hill, Limgrave. There we have a little keep over there. Some huge roots. Like, these roots are massive. And they're reminiscent of the roots that we see in the base of... well, in the catacombs. We see these huge roots, right? And there's these tree systems. And they're kind of reminiscent of that. And they seem to be growing from every which way, right? And we see the road continues. There's a little bit of a rot pond over there. And a bigger one over here to the left. There's a chapel on the southern edge of the peninsula. There's a big castle over there, barely visible in this rain and depth of field or view distance. And it looks like there's a huge bloom kind of in the middle of the lake, or on the far edge. And it looks like it's got all these branches. So perhaps all these roots going throughout the whole of the land are from that central bloom. Initially, you may have thought that it was from a minor Erd tree, or maybe even the Erd tree itself. I'm trying to see if there's any more identifying features, but not particularly at this time. But we do see this wall, a fairly lengthy wall that's got gaps in it, probably in an attempt to stave off the rotting Aeonia. And looking at it, it looks like that the wall there and the wall that we would have seen all the way over yonder past the town, they are facing this central bloom, essentially. So it makes me think that that is indeed exactly what we were trying to stop, or that the people here in Caelid were trying to stop. Let's talk to the finger reader, because the creepy lady always has insight for us.
You, please, I can read them. Your fingers, please, your fingers.
All right, and we're going to show her our hands, because we don't tell hardly anybody no.
Oh, bless you. Are you one for festivals or flowers? To the south, a grand festival to make the stars turn. To the east, the heart and bud of a flower to be. But dare you enter into the heart of the scarlet rot?
A little dramatic, but it makes sense. So she's given us a little bit of flavor about the land. She's actually referenced that bud to the east that I was just talking about that we noticed. And I believe she mentioned the Radon Festival. She just said so much. Hard to keep it all in place. So, festivals, flowers. Grand festival to make the stars turn. Okay. So yeah, so she references the Radon Festival briefly, as well as the center of the rot over there. That bud. That it seems like that these smoldering walls were attempting to bar. So, we're going to take a sit because we want our stuff back. Okay, let's get back to it. So I made us a little path, and this is the dangerous path. This is not the wise path. If you're smart, don't do this. But there's also items, so maybe you do it anyways. I don't know. But we have horrible crow monsters guarding items. And thankfully, we have hopefully stuff to help us deal with them. Maybe we can get a sick pot shot off on this horrible bird monster. Oh no, we can't shoot it nearly far enough. Oh, that was a real poise break. Oh, and the magic damage dagger is pulling through. I think the magic damage was slightly higher a number than the frost variant. It would be nice to incorporate more of my stats, but here we are. So a high level golden rune. Sorta worth. I'm trying to remember if there's any other items worth grabbing in this area. I know there's some high value stuff intentionally hidden amongst the garbage. See if I can get behind this bird without losing any of without losing my phalanx. Oh shucks. Oh, these are teeth. Oh glory be, this is a mouth. There's a tree growing out of this mouth skull. I'll have to take a better look at it. Oh shucks. Come on. Goodness. Oh, are you kidding me? Shucks. That poise break for nothing because of uneven ground. Dang I hate fighting these things. They have such wide sweeping attacks. There we go. Good thing it ate the phalanx all at once. Oh, come on, give me the stab. Fine. And I hate how it flails so much even while its posture's supposedly broken. Okay. And I think we had one more mountain to climb. As I abuse carrying phalanx because I don't want to fight these guys proper. I should probably have a real weapon. Oh, shucks. It hurt me. See, we did the real poise break there. Kind of heavy on the mana expenditure, but we're not losing too much in ways of health, so I guess it's a success. Oh, I thought there was another item over here. Maybe I'm... Oh, there it is. Okay. I feel like there's an item on a branch, actually. Okay, I know there's the beetle over there, and we'll get that later. I felt like there was... like a branch over a path. I thought there was a beetle clinging to it. Oh, where am I remembering that from? Oh, it's up ahead. I should have just kept going. Golly. Unreliable narrator featuring yours truly. And a level 4 Somber Stone. Not so bad. Gets you to... well, +4 on Somber, which is like +10 standard, so very tasty. Alright, so I believe I've showed off enough of the crows, so we are going to sneaky in here as much as we can. Though, I just realized you can summon a friend here to help. Well, and by summon a friend, I mean use the Spirit Ashes. A single level 4 Smithing Stone, probably to get you killed. And Trina Lilies. I do love me the Trina Lilies. I should make more sleep pots. They're one of my favorites, even though I'm not running an arcane build where they scale really well. I feel like they're good on everyone. I don't see them. Come on. Give me that stab. Delete the fight. There we go. You gotta stay on your toes, ladies and gents. Because the birds want to eat them. You gotta keep them safe. Keep them nimble. Keep them lithe. Alright. That's enough of that. That was disgusting. How do you put up with this for me? Delete that. And we are here at the Forsaken Ruins. Doesn't tell us a whole lot. At least Calum sounds like a neat word from the era, or the area. But let's look in the hole down here. And we find the Sword of St. Trina, an item with some lore. And hopefully more lore to come. So we've seen the word, or the name Trina before. We've seen it on the lilies in the area. And here we have this nice sword. Looks fairly ornamental. Not too bad. Handguard's a little ornamental, but otherwise it's not horrible. It's not like a Maul Ninja weapon or some horrible fantasy weapon. It's pretty reasonable. But yeah, an ornate handguard for sure. Right? Looks like stuff could get lodged in there and that might be bad. Well, that's your goal, I suppose. Silver sword carried by clerics of St. Trina. Inflicts sleep ailment upon foes. St. Trina is an enigmatic figure. Some say she is a comely young girl. Others are sure he is a boy. The only certainty is that their appearance was as sudden as their disappearance. So this seems like a weird lore moment where it's like the history of the world has distorted what's actually known versus what's a falsehood or a legend. But the unique skill is Mists of Slumber, releases a faint purple mist that spreads across a wide frontwards area. This mist inflicts the sleep ailment upon foes. So another gender-confused character. Feels like FromSoft likes to have one per installment. We had Gwendolyn in Dark Souls 1 and 3, who was a young boy raised as a girl. And I believe we have another one in this game, though I don't believe we've received any information about them, so I will keep my trap shut for now. But the Ash of War is like, it's kind of like the mist ability, the frosty mist that we get. And it buffs the weapon for a while, too. Innately, it has 66 sleep buildup, and it gets a little more when you buff it. And the buff doesn't last too long, if I recall, but here we are. Okay. I believe we are good to continue our journey in peace. So we will do exactly that. And we didn't actually attract the attention of the crow, so success. Rousing success. Alright, so if you are in the town and you don't want to go this way and you'd rather head due south for whatever reason, you're rushing an item, you can actually come over to this cliff here, and it's easier with the horse, but you can jump, and there is a way to jump up the slant there if you're doing multiplayer and you don't have a horse naturally. Unless you're playing the seamless co-op mod, in which case everybody gets a horse. So here's a bunch of coffins. Has a little bit of money. I'm coming around the corner here. Oh, we completely circumvented our first soldiers. We will go back and fight them. Well, maybe not fairly, but we'll fight them. Oh, we'll fight them all right. So now that we've properly seen and fought the soldiers, we can now take a look at their set of armor. So let's do that. Radahn soldier helm. It's my favorite of all of the basic soldier helms. I don't know why, but those side blades, they're neat to me. They look a little better than just the open coif of metal ringlets. All right. Radahn soldier helm. Helm worn by soldiers who fought by General Radahn's side. Its visor is fashioned after a lion's fangs. So pretty neat. What else is there? Redmane surcoat. Armor worn by soldiers who fought by General Radahn's side. The surcoat depicts a Redmane lion raising a sword in the image of Radahn. Thus, they were Redmanes, and all proved they were worthy of the name. Time is yet to dull their luster, referring to the gauntlets and greaves. Well, it's dulled it a bit, and that's why I'm wearing it with the armor set. I accrued it earlier for that very reason. To be fashionable, to look good. Are you really enjoying Elden Ring if you're not fashion maxing? I don't think so. So here we have a soldier and his buddy. You can get the free backstab off on this fellow. Oh, parried early. There we go. Tasty big damage. But the Redmanes we will find are the most aggressive. And I think it's kind of neat how the enemy changes a little bit in between iterations. It's not just a color scheme, right? So the Godric soldiers are the basic ones. You're learning the game. Makes sense. The Cuckoo ones, they often like to use the little faux glintstone sorceries, right? The little rocks you break and they shoot a projectile at your enemy. And these Redmane ones, they are going to be the first that we're going to start seeing that really start using Ashes of War in their own right. They'll make use of a double slash. I believe one of them, if it has the Lordsworn Greatsword, will make use of a charge. I don't think we've seen too much of. Maybe we've seen a little bit of it. But definitely they use an Ash of War called double slash on their straight swords. Or it looks a little bit like double slash. It might actually look a little bit more like the heavy attack you see on the Warhawk straight sword. Okay, I guess we're in a mine. It's not a dark mine, though. I do like my light spell. I don't think I'll need it. I want Cannon of Haima and Gavel of Haima too much. But as soon as it's dark, I will bring it back. That guy's like, you just killed my supervisor. Do I get the day off? My answer is no. There we go. Oh, Misericord backstabs with an element. Very tasty. Makes dealing with problems that much easier. Oh boy. We're actually casting sorceries. We're trivializing a bit of the gameplay. For good reason. And we have magic damage in our weapon. Ooh, if we don't fully charge that heavy attack, we do the plink. Oh, octopus monster. Brass shield, some smithing stones. And we can sneak behind this soldier here. Because he has a horn on his belt. Oh, he was about to do the breath attack on his torch. I feel bad for kind of ending it early, but oh well. If you have anything that does fire to the guys who have those backpacks, just like before, they still explode. We can grab all these tasty crack crystals. If you don't have any crack crystals for your crystal darts that you may have needed for the minor Erdtree catacombs, come do the Gale Tunnel first. You'll have plenty by the end. You don't need that many. If you don't have any at all, that's kind of suspicious what you do with them all. Did you even do Liurnia? You kind of need to go to Liurnia to get the recipe for it anyways. It's not like you're rushing those 2 dungeons. Probably. Alright. I've used a lot of the Carrion Sword. I should probably mix it up. Zweihander. We like Zweihanders. We like magically imbued Zweihanders considerably. Though I can't use my Ash of War with it, because the Ash of War is a buff, and it'll dispel it, the magical effect. But it looks neat. I like the neon blue weapon. It's kind of a thing when the game first came out. People would do all these cosplay builds of characters from popular fiction. And a couple Star Wars Jedis made their rounds, people wielding straight swords imbued with magic to simulate a blue lightsaber. And sure enough, when we open the back of the dungeon here, we end up in the rear Gale Tunnel entrance, this place that I accidentally came to way too early and shouldn't have. And almost jeopardized Alexander's questline. Not really, but our dialogue with him will be a little different, because on this character, the first time he sees us will be, well, the Radon Festival, Redmane Castle. And I will probably need to get another character to show what the dialogue looks like if it's slightly different if he's already met us before. So we need to find a way to fight this horrid monster. And I think I have a plan. It's an okay plan. There's been better plans, but this plan is mine. So we will use it. Yeah, we'll do that. Oh no, my items are all sorts of discombobulated. Okay, here we are. Probably should have drank a mana potion first, that's okay. Oh, I have enough mana for Lutel. Bonk. Ooh, that's tasty damage. Oh, look at that. That's what I like to see. Because dragons are weak to puncture damage a lot of the time. And I have the misericord for this very reason. And it does a lot of posture damage, which is very nice. Oh. If I had Dragon Wound Priest, that would probably do a little more damage. Oh, come here. We'll just kill him outright. Huzzah! Not too mean of a fight as long as you have the right equipment and a couple levels under your belt. We find the Dragon Heart and the Moon Veil. Am I going to use the Moon Veil? Not ecstatic. Alright, Moon Veil. Hated item amongst the community. It's a katana, for one. It has a little bit of bleed, for one. It's primarily an intelligence weapon with a little bit of dexterity to it. And it has Unsheath as its Ash of War, but it's called Transient Moonlight. And it still has the overhead slash for the heavy and the horizontal slash for the light, but because it's a mage weapon and a moon veil with transient moonlight, it does a beam attack. Infamous in the community for doing crazy high amounts of damage. It has been tweaked a couple times throughout its lifespan. And it's still a really good choice for wizards. PvE and PvP. If you're using PvP though, don't mash it, kind of use it sparingly. Trying to catch an enemy as a punish with the Ash of War will yield you far better results. Somebody goes for a swig of their drink, hit him with the overhead. And it has good distance, right? Like, look, check out this distance. That's pretty good. Punish a drink. You'll probably outdamage the drink. You might even get a little bonus damage. So that's the time to use it. Just use it as a punish and you'll do well. If you're using it all the time, people get you wise to it. But then, you might ask, Gunches, don't I have to use the katana with its intended moveset? Yes, you would have to do that. And that would be the hallmark of a blossoming player in the PvP scene. But if you're only here for the PvE, then I guess just spam the ever-living crap out of that Ash of War. Who's going to stop you? I'm not your dad. I'm not going to do that. All right. Well, that's going to be the end of episode 55. Next time we get to go down the hill to that little fort we saw, which is going to be neat. There are some tasty enemies, a neat sequence. I like that little castle over there. I think it's a neat little experience. A little pocket, a tasty pocket of gameplay. So we will toy with that next time. So I thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hey!
Oh, wait a minute. I faked you out. I'm going to read the description. I'm going to read the description of the moon veil. You thought I wouldn't? I thought I wouldn't. Katana forged of glintstone. Masterpiece of a Celian swordsmith. Light enwreaths the blade when sheathed, explaining its moon veil moniker. As I said, there's not really too much lore to it. It's from Celia, Town of Sorcery. Alright, now's the real goodbye. I'll see you later. Nerd.